Stoicism, an ancient philosophy from Greece and Rome, has been making a modern comeback for teaching and learning. In this video, I'll explore the 4 Stoic virtues, and we'll see how the wisdom of the Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca can transform our approach to education. Let's begin with wisdom in Stoic philosophy. It's the cornerstone of the 4 virtues. In Stoicism, wisdom is not merely the accumulation of knowledge, it's the ability to discern what is good, bad, and indifferent. It's about understanding what is within our control and making choices that align with our values and long-term goals. For Epictetus, these are the signs of a wise man: to reprove nobody, to praise nobody, to blame nobody, nor even to speak of himself or his own merits. You see, wisdom is the ability to step back, evaluate a situation without being overwhelmed by emotions, and make decisions that contribute to flourishing, not just for yourself, but for others too. Imagine this. You're a teacher, and during your lesson, a student is constantly interrupting the class. Your initial reaction might be frustration or even anger, but wisdom invites you to pause and reflect. What's going on here? In the Stoic framework, wisdom helps you step back and ask deep questions. Why is the student behaving this way? Is there an underlying issue at home or a need for attention that isn't being met? Instead of reacting impulsively, wisdom empowers you to address the root cause. Let's say you approach your student after class and you calmly ask what's been on their mind. Through the conversation, you learn that they're struggling with anxiety about an upcoming test, and interruptions are a way to mask discomfort. Armed with this insight, you take action. You decide to pair the student with a study buddy who excels in the subject, and you schedule a one-on-one session to review the material they find challenging. This small act of wisdom transforms a potentially negative interaction into an opportunity for growth. So consider these key takeaways. Pause and reflect. Take a moment to assess the situation before reacting. Seek deeper understanding. Look beyond behavior to identify underlying causes. Act purposefully. Choose actions that align with your values and long-term goals for your students. Wisdom, when practiced, becomes a tool for transformation, not just for your students, but for you as an educator. Remember, in Stoic terms, wisdom isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions and taking purposeful action. Next, let's consider courage, a virtue often misunderstood. While we often think of courage as fearlessness, Stoicism teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. It's about standing firm in your principles, facing adversity with resilience, and taking purposeful action even when the path ahead is uncertain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." For him, courage is more than physical bravery. It's moral fortitude, the strength to stand up for what is right even when it's uncomfortable or risky. Another Stoic, Epictetus, reminds us that courage involves acting in harmony with reason and the greater good, rather than succumbing to fear or impulsivity. Let's take an example from the classroom. Consider Mr. Davis, a high school science teacher. His school's rigid curriculum policy left him no room for interactive learning, something he knew would engage and inspire his students. Faced with resistance from the administration, Mr. Davis chose courage. He carefully gathered evidence, student feedback, research on interactive teaching, and examples from his own small classroom. Then, he presented a compelling case to the school administrators, advocating for a more balanced and flexible curriculum. Despite initial pushback, Mr. Davis's courage didn't waver. He offered to pilot his interactive methods in just one class, minimize the perceived risk. The results? Improved student engagement and better performance. So a few key takeaways. In following Mr. Davis, we can prepare thoroughly. Courage doesn't mean acting recklessly. It's about taking calculated risks based on reason and evidence. It's also about advocating persistently. Courage involves standing firm in your convictions while remaining respectful and open to dialogue. Lastly, lead by example. Demonstrating courage inspires others, students, colleagues, and administrators to think boldly and creatively. In Stoic philosophy, courage is not about eliminating fear, it's about understanding its role. Fear reminds us of the stakes, but courage moves us to act for the greater good. For educators, courage means advocating for your students, challenging outdated systems, and sometimes just getting through the day with integrity. Third, justice. In Stoic philosophy, justice is often referred to as the highest of the four virtues. For the Stoics, justice is not limited to legal fairness, it's about treating others with respect, understanding, and a commitment to the greater good. Marcus Aurelius called justice the greatest of virtues, or the source of all virtues, for it guides how we interact with others and build ethical communities. In Stoic philosophy, justice is both external and internal. Externally, it involves fairness in how we treat others, our students, colleagues, and communities. Internally, it means cultivating a sense of moral integrity, ensuring that our actions align with the common good. Justice is the virtue that reminds us that every individual, regardless of their background, deserves respect and inclusion. Let's explore this with another example. Miss Davis, a dedicated teacher, faced a challenge when Priya, a recent immigrant with limited English proficiency, joined her class mid-year. Priya's peers, unfamiliar with her culture, excluded her from group activities, and some even made insensitive remarks. Rather than reprimanding the students or ignoring the issue, Ms. Davis embraced the Stoic virtue of justice. She recognized that true fairness required action to address exclusion and foster understanding. A few strategies she used: Cultural Appreciation Day. Ms. Davis organized a day where students shared stories, food, and traditions from their cultures. This activity celebrated diversity and highlighted the unique contributions of each student. Peer Support System. She paired Priya with a buddy to help her navigate the classroom and school routines. This not only supported Priya, but also fostered empathy and leadership skills in the buddy. Language inclusion. Ms. Davis introduced basic phrases from Priya's language during daily activities, signaling to her and the entire class that Priya's identity was valued. Over time, Priya became an integral part of the class. The insensitive remarks disappeared, replaced by curiosity and kindness. Justice wasn't just enforced, it was embodied, creating an inclusive environment where every student felt respected and valued. A few key takeaways. Be proactive. Address bias and exclusion with purposeful actions that promote understanding. Foster inclusion. Create spaces where every student feels seen and supported. Model fairness. Show students that justice is about both principles and practice. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that justice is about living for others, not for personal gain. It's about aligning our actions with the greater good and ensuring that our decisions uplift the entire community. In teaching, this means advocating for equity, addressing disparities, and building a classroom where everyone can thrive. Lastly, let's look at temperance. Temperance is a virtue of self-control, moderation, and balance. It's the ability to manage our desires and impulses, finding harmony between excess and deficiency. Epictetus writes that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So for educators, temperance isn't just about restraint. It's about creating a sustainable rhythm that nurtures both ourselves and our students. Stoicism teaches that temperance is essential for living a virtuous life. It's a discipline to resist overindulgence in pleasures, the patience to endure discomfort, and the clarity to avoid extreme reactions. For the Stoics, temperance ensures that we remain steady even amidst chaos. Now here's an example. Meet Miss Smith, a history teacher known for her dedication, but struggling with stress. Between grading late into the night and managing disruptive students during the day, she felt overwhelmed and burnt out. Her frustration was beginning to affect her classroom environment. Recognizing the need for change, Ms. Smith embraced the Stoic virtue of temperance. She began by examining her daily routines, asking herself, what can I let go of? And where can I create balance? A few strategies that she enacted. Setting boundaries. Ms. Smith decides to set clear work hours. Instead of grading late into the night, she allocated specific time during the day for grading and planning, ensuring she had evenings to recharge. Practicing emotional moderation. In the classroom, Ms. Smith adopted a new approach to disruptive behavior. Instead of reacting with frustration, she practiced pausing, taking a deep breath, and responding calmly. She reminded herself of the Stoic principle: you can't control others' actions, but you can control your response. By practicing temperance, Ms. Smith found her stress levels decreasing, her interactions with students improving, and her classroom becoming a more harmonious space. She became a role model for her students, demonstrating how balance and self-control can lead to better outcomes. A few key takeaways. Set healthy limits. Recognize what to say no to, overwork or unproductive activities. Pause before reacting. Use moments of frustration as opportunities to practice self-control. Model balance. Show students that moderation leads to long-term success. Temperance isn't about deprivation, it's about freedom. For the Stoics, the ability to manage your desires and reactions free you from being controlled by them. Marcus Aurelius writes, "You must build up your life action by action and be content if each one achieves its goals as far as possible." As educators, we are guides, mentors, and lifelong learners. Stoicism invites us to embrace this role with courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. So the next time the storm hits, remember you have the tools to steer the ship. Teach with purpose, learn with humility, live with resilience. If you like this video, I invite you to like, subscribe, and check out one of the other videos I have on my channel about teaching and learning. Thanks for watching.